So welcome to this recording about the Vitek 2 Advanced Expert System. This is designed to be a resource, be it refreshing current staff members that may be performing some testing on the Vitek, or to welcome new staff members and to aid in their training on the AST bench. So first we'll talk a little bit about the Vitek 2 AES itself, and then speak a little bit about EUCAST breakpoints and some of the resources that are available to you. So looking first at the Vitek 2 Advanced Expert System, or the AES. Antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, is a major threat to global public health. The wide use and frequent misuse of antimicrobials in all countries has resulted in the emergence of drug resistance, with superbugs being resistant to most or even all antimicrobials. In addition to a limited arsenal of effective and available antimicrobials, there are also only a few new antimicrobials under development. All of this adds up to facing an alarming situation where at least 700,000 people die every year worldwide as a result of infections caused by microorganisms that are resistant to antibiotics. In the near future, if nothing changes, the casualties could increase to 10 million deaths per year. Therefore, it is essential that we optimize the use of antimicrobials, which are still effective. Diagnostic tests then give clinicians evidence for informed decisions from antibiotic therapy initiation, optimization, and finally the discontinuation. Appropriate prescription throughout this patient pathway leads to better patient outcomes. Making clinical decisions based on AST results not only dramatically improves patient outcomes, but also serves the broader purpose of fighting antimicrobial resistance to help sustain the efficacy of antibiotics for generations to come. bioMérieux provides a complete microbiology solution designed for routine laboratory workflow, from sample test preparation to result interpretation, and more specifically with the goal to support antimicrobial stewardship. Putting diagnostics and data at the heart of antimicrobial stewardship helps drive informed therapy decisions, from antibiotic initiation to optimization and discontinuation for better patient care. Today, 80% of our solutions support AMS. One of these solutions is our Vitek 2, which is used for automated AST testing. And today we will be focusing on the heart and brain of the Vitek 2 system, the Advanced Expert System, or in short, the AES. The Vitek 2 AST card, used together with the Vitek 2 system, is essentially a miniaturized and abbreviated version of the doubling dilution technique for MICs determined by the microdilution method. By use of breakpoint guidelines such as EUCAST guidelines, the obtained MIC values are transferred into categories such as sensitive or resistant. This will be the first aid in the direction of therapy and is independent of the AES. So without the AES, you would just have the categorization, which might not be sufficient since it ignores that a single resistance mechanism often impacts resistance to multiple antibiotics. To help you help clinicians select the most appropriate antibiotic treatment, the AES automatically provides validation of every susceptibility test result. The AES aids the validation of ID or AST results consistency and determine the resistance mechanisms leading to therapeutic strategy adaptation. The Vitek 2 database is built to represent the diversity of encountered species and existing resistance mechanisms to provide robust and informative results. With the latest software update, we have in our database 140 microorganisms and 118 resistance mechanisms, altogether representing 3,892 phenotypes. All of this is represented by 59,000 MIC distributions. The AES system works in three overall steps: the biological validation, the therapeutic correction, and the antibiotic deduction. We will now have a closer look at each of these steps, starting with the biological validation. As I mentioned before, the AES consists of 59,000 MIC distributions. The expected MIC distributions are a consolidation of multiple MIC values to form a trinomial, that is, microorganism, antibiotic, and resistance mechanism. The MIC values collected are from publications, internal and external data, as well as susceptibility committees such as EUCAST. MICs from a representative collection of bacteria is used to build the MIC distribution for each bug-drug phenotype combination. In the Vitek 2 AES, each of these MIC distributions are represented like this, and the typicity is then represented by the coloration. So you will see darker bars at the center of that graph showing that there's a very typical MIC. It's almost like looking at a bar graph from above to show that the more typical MICs are falling towards the center of that distribution. Just as an example, here I have the expected MIC distribution of E. coli versus ampicillin from the EUCAST website. As you can see, this is the same representation in the Vitek 2, both with a wild type breakpoint of less than or equal to 8. In the Vitek 2 card, we typically have around 20 antibiotics, and each of these antibiotics has a fixed calling range. That is, a range within MIC values can be determined. In this example, the calling range for ampicillin is 2 to 32, which means it is possible to obtain MIC values of 4, 8, and 16, as well as an MIC value equal or less to 2 and greater or equal to 32. Looking into the graphics of the AES for obtained MIC values for a patient sample, these MIC values are represented as a purple square for an exact MIC value, a purple triangle pointing to the right for an MIC value which is above or equal to the highest value in the calling range, and a purple triangle pointing to the left representing an MIC value which is below or equal to the lowest value in the calling range. The obtained MIC value for each antibiotic is then compared with the expected MIC distribution for each phenotype for that species in the database. There is a match when the MIC value is within the expected MIC distribution or when the triangle is pointing in the direction of the expected MIC distribution. Finally, the quality of the match is determined by how well the obtained MIC values fall within the expected MIC distribution. Several phenotypes exist for the same combination of antibiotic family and microorganism, depending on the resistance mechanisms. The wild type, which might have no resistant or natural intrinsic resistance, and then the non-wild type harboring emerging and acquired resistance. The antibiotics on the AST card belongs to several families. And in the AES database, we then have the expected MIC distributions for the phenotypes within each antibiotic family. A total of 3,892 phenotypes. The obtained MIC values from the patient sample is compared with the known MIC distributions for the relevant phenotypes of the species identified in order to find the best match. This is the biological validation. The validation of ID and AST result consistency, the wild type or non-wild type determination, and the resistance mechanisms identification. In this example, there is full consistency, which correspond to what we call a green result. These results can be rapidly and confidently released with little or no intervention by laboratory personnel. Results can be auto-posted to the LIS for faster targeted therapy. Here is an example from the isolate detail results screen in the Vitek 2 software. The green confidence level indicates that there is a full consistency between the provided identification and the obtained MIC values for each drug on the card. Please bear in mind the confidence level has nothing to do with the level of resistance for the detected phenotypes. This might be all wild type with no inherited resistance, or it can be a highly resistant bacteria. The coloration only refers to the ID-AST results consistency. It is also important to notice the phenotypes shown here are only the ones selected in the configuration to be shown. Later, we will have a look at where all detected phenotypes can be found. The AES will propose a correction to a single MIC when one antibiotic on the entire card doesn't fit into the expected distribution for a phenotype. This will then result in a yellow result, consistent with correction. A corrected MIC value is proposed that will allow the isolate to match a defined phenotype in the knowledge base, and you will have to accept the proposed MIC change for, in this case, ampicillin. Having one MIC value out of range is not strange, it is normal biological variation. Yellow results will be held for review. This is an example from the isolate detail results screen in the Vitek 2 software. The yellow confidence level indicates that there is one outlier. In this example, the outlier is imipenem, indicated by the yellow highlight of the MIC value. If the isolate does not match a defined phenotype in the knowledge base, or when two or more MIC values are out of range, the AES will not propose any corrections or phenotypes, and a final result will not be possible. This is also known as a red result, an inconsistent result. Red indicators may suggest technical errors or, less likely, a new mechanism of resistance. Here is an example of the inconsistent result in the software. All you can do is check the purity of the plate and try setting up the sample again or use another method. If, however, this is a new resistance mechanism and that resistance pattern is confirmed by the testing site, the isolate can be sent to us for analysis and inclusion in the database. If you want to have a closer look at all phenotypes found for a specific sample, you just have to click on the cubic and the screen will appear. You will always have the wild type to the left and all other possible phenotypes for this drug-bug combination to the right. The ranking and detection are based on several criteria. The level of typicity, which there are 3 levels, very typical, typical, or not very typical, and 3 levels for the best choices phenotype identification. So 3 stars being the best phenotype, 2 a recognized phenotype, and 1 a possible phenotype. Besides the 3 confidence levels just described, that's the green, yellow, and red levels, there are 2 additional consistency levels. The purple means that the species identified, for instance, if you were using a MALDI, has not been described in the AES knowledge base. There is most likely nothing wrong with the identification and the obtained MIC values. You will just not get any information regarding the phenotypes. The last one is the black confidence level. This one indicates that there are no breakpoints defined in the software for this species for any of the tested antibiotics. The next step after the biological validation is the proposed therapeutic corrections. As the test you are doing in the lab is an in vitro test, we all know that sometimes the outcome in vivo might not fully correspond to the lab test. To avoid therapeutic failure, the AES will propose therapeutic corrections based on the mechanism of resistance detected. This will always be a suggested correction of the category, whereas the biological correction was a suggested correction for an MIC value. The proposed corrections will always be towards more resistant, so S to I or I to R. There is, however, one exception. For oxacillin staphylococcus, a correction from R to S can happen. In this example, there are therapeutic corrections for the penicillins and the cephalosporins. This is based on the detected phenotype, which is carbapenemase. Carbapenemases are beta-lactamases with versatile hydrolytic capacities. They have the ability to hydrolyze penicillins, cephalosporins, monobactams, and carbapenems. If we look into the explanation for the therapeutic of correction of ceftazidime, it looks like this. Interpretation changed from I to R based on the detected resistant mechanism, carbapenemase. The last part of the AES validation of an AST result is the antibiotic deduction. Antibiotics that are not tested on the card can still be reported thanks to the AES knowledge base. This can be based on equivalence rule-based deduction or phenotypic deduction. This option will have to be activated per drug if you want to deduce, and the possibilities are dependent on the drugs available on the card tested. As the deduced drug has not been tested, only a category will be proposed. Looking at the isolate detail in the Vitek 2 software, the deduced drugs are marked with a plus sign. As you can see, no MIC is available as the drug has not been tested. Only the category is available. With this, I have reviewed how Vitek 2 Advanced Expert System validates each and every one of your Vitek 2 AST results. And I hope you appreciate how Vitek 2 supports your daily lab activity and allows you to recapture your time for more challenging situations. Next, we will have a look at an additional tool you have with the Vitek 2 and finally review an AES report. Biological Advanced Reporting Tool, or BioART, is a tool in which you can create rules based on an if-then system. The use of BioART will help you eliminate the need for manual report modification. You can implement your lab reporting policies, your institution's infection control policies, and bioMérieux recommended rules. BioART can also help you to highlight crucial information for immediate follow-up. These are examples of conditions and actions you can choose from in the BioART configuration. Here is an example of a rule. If the species identified is Staph aureus and if oxacillin is resistant and the resistant mechanism is MEC-A, then the comment confirmed MRSA should go out to clinicians via the LIS. And for an internal comment, it should say notify infection control. At the same time, the result should be stopped for review and a red exclamation sign should be visible, making it easy for whoever is performing the test to see that this is a sample requiring a special focus. In the software, the red exclamation sign will alert for special attention. And in this case, an internal comment, alert oxacillin resistant, has been added. Finally, this is an example of an AES report. This report states consistent with correction, which means that one MIC value had to be changed in order to find a good match between species and phenotype. In this case, it is the MIC of ceftazidime, which was changed in order to fit the best match phenotype, acquired penicillinase. These are all the phenotypes found for the various antibiotic families. There was one suggestion for a therapeutic correction, a change from sensitive to resistant for norfloxacin. And lastly, 3 antibiotics were deduced based on the reasons explained for each of those drugs. In the Vitek 2 software, it looks like this. Biological validation, which is the change of the MIC value. A therapeutic correction, which is a change of a category. And antibiotic deduction. So the drugs are not actually tested in the card, but are deduced based on the drugs in the card, some rules, or the phenotypes that are found. And now we'll have a little look at some of the EUCAST breakpoint information. For any system updated to version 9.04, you will have EUCAST 2020 breakpoints, as well as any interpretations, limitations, and changes as per several CSNs included within the AES. If you are not already aware, there are further AES options for you, including the GCS EUCAST AES set, which has the foundation of the 2020 EUCAST set, plus all the breakpoints and BioART rules from the CSNs post the version 9.02 software update. This will essentially get you to a partial 2023 set. Alternatively, you could opt for what we call our current EUCAST set, which includes version 13 and version 14 breakpoints to fit our cards, as well as version 10 for yeasts, which is backfilled with CLSI breakpoints. It includes the CSN updates and some additional BioART rules. Support around this, including information on the AES sets, is available on our local landing page, which we will share a link to later on in this video. This also includes some informative videos and an FAQ document, as well as all the documentation required to arrange an update, including a pre-update checklist. There is information on how to book your update on there, and you can also request further information via the contact form. Thank you so much for your attention during this video. If you wish to visit our EUCAST support page for more information, you can scan the QR code on screen now. If you wish to get in touch with us and to discuss anything in more detail, please complete the contact form via this link or contact your local account manager. Thank you for your continued partnership with BioART.